American rights have been sold for an incredible £560,000, and film and TV companies are interested. Welcome to you, Anne, and congratulations on the success of the book thus far. But although it's your first published novel, it's not actually the first novel you've written, is it?
No, I did try to write a book. Well, in fact, I did write a book 20 years ago, which unfortunately earned nothing but rejections. It was very disheartening.
So what happened then? Why didn't you just try and write another novel 20 years ago?
Well, apart from the fact that it was rather disheartening, I had young children at that point, and I thought, well, you know, it takes such a lot of time. It's really quite exhausting process, really, writing. And I felt that I couldn't devote that kind of time then. So I kind of put it in the background and concentrated on drawing and painting, which is, shall we say, the other string to my bow, which I enjoy doing. And put it into the background, and then suddenly couldn't resist it any longer. It was there. And
so the family were growing up, you had more time?
Well, they were growing up. My son was well established at school then, and I felt that I could devote a little bit more time then to writing.
So presumably you have to wait for the right idea to come along. What was it that sparked off this for you? It
was strange, really, because the book that you see before you is not really the book I intended to write in the first place. Originally, my idea was to write the story of this young soldier who served with the Australian forces in the First World War, because I had, in actual fact, been given his diary, which was written in 1916 in the trenches of the Western Front. It was a very, very moving diary, and I was very caught by the fact that although he served with the Australians, he was born in York and he had family in York. And I wanted to write his story. But then I met this wonderful lady who was a genealogist, and she said to me, "Have you checked his background?" And I said, "Well, no, I haven't. I thought imagination was going to provide me with the background." So it was a case, really, of fact being stranger than fiction.
And in the end, you wrote a book about his mum rather than he himself. It has had a phenomenal success rate so far, as I mentioned, figures, monetary figures, which boggle the mind. Do you sit back now and take a deep breath and say, wow, what have I done? It's changed my life. I'm suddenly on television. I'm a celebrity. I'm heading for millionaire status.
No. Quite in a word, no. I'm still very, very busy, trying to write the next book and trying to get on with that, which is, my whole reason for being. I love writing, and that's the whole thing.
You're not going to disappoint me and say this hasn't made any difference to your life at all?
It gives a tremendous freedom. The wonderful feeling that you know that people are actually paying you to do what you enjoy doing best. And I think that's the marvellous thing about it. Really, my life has changed far more because of my husband's change of job recently than certainly by these sort of vast amounts of money.
Your husband was at sea for over 20 years, I think, wasn't he?
26 years,
right.
Yes.
So now he's land-based. Is he very much encouraging you in this new venture?
Oh, yes, he always has. He's always been absolutely marvellous. Yes, he really has.
Now, were you playing Annie before this book came out? I mean, here we are, Anne Victoria Roberts. It sounds very great. If it was just Annie Roberts or something in the front of a book, I don't suppose we'd find it half appealing. I mean, you're suddenly getting involved in all this image changing and things?
No, I mean, I've always been Anne, but Anne Victoria is my full name. I mean, it really is my real name. It's just that it sounds nice as a name on a book. Yes.
Now, you mentioned you're working on the follow-up, which is the book in the sense that you intended writing in the first place. Can this go on? Are we going to have like a whole dynasty of this family? We're going to get book after book?
No, there's just the 2 books. That's all.
Because it's quite fashionable with this style of book, the very thick, very heavy book, to have sequels, isn't it?
It is, yes, it is. Although, as I say, this wasn't really planned to be, a sequel. It was planned as really one story, but as I say, I kind of got sidetracked things.
Well, with film and television people now being interested, do you have any ideas of who you'd like to play the characters?
Oh, we keep tossing names about, people like Timothy Dalton or Pierce Brosnan and all, people like that. But really, I see Louisa as being a young Ingrid Bergman. But unfortunately, there aren't any young Ingrid Bergmans around these days. So, I don't know.
Well, I know you've got another 18 months until you get the sequel out.
Yes.
We're enjoying this in the meantime. Thanks very much indeed.